Here is a series of lessons for an exciting project for your students using Scratch, where they can create a balloon popping game using the video sensing on the computer or the iPad or the iPhone, and then create a game using variables to create a score. And what's also interesting about this is that they can link it with areas of the curriculum by asking questions during the game. Come on, let's jump into the ultimate guide of creating a game in Scratch.
So, welcome to Scratch. The first task that you're going to do is create a new project. So, log into your Scratch account and then create a project now. Remember, there are several ways you can do this. Off you go. So let me now show you how you can create a brand new project. You can click on where it says create in the top left corner, or you can go to your username in the top right corner, tap on it, and then click my stuff. This will list everything that's in your library. Then you can tap new project. That will open up your new project window. Now in your new project window, you can change things on your iPad. Because your screen is smaller than working on a computer, you can tap these buttons in the corner to make more space on the screen for you. You can go back by tapping on this. You can also go full screen if you tap this button here. And to go back to the coding screen, you can tap this button here. I'm going to keep it on this one to give me more space. Now, when you're writing your Scratch program, what you need to do is you need to turn on the things that you need. In this case, we're going to turn on video sensing. So what I'd like you to do is go and find how to add video sensing to your Scratch project. Off you go. So to find video sensing, what you're going to do is you're going to tap this button in the corner, and then you're going to tap video sensing. It will ask you on your iPad if you would like to allow the camera. Well, you do. Allow, and now you can see me in the corner. Hi everyone. There is one thing that I didn't do that you need to do every time you start a brand new project. Now, can you tell me what that is? Let me give you a clue. It's so we can identify your coding project. Okay, so what you needed to do was you needed to go up to where it says here, on mine it says Untitled 44. You need to give your project a name. So I'm going to delete the Untitled 44. I'm going to put in my name here. So this is called... Okay, so that's the name of my game. Okay, so now let's look at the video sensing tools that you've added. So we've got 4 video sensing tools. Now we're going to come back to those. The first thing we need to do in order to get our coding program to work is look at our sprite. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to delete the cat sprite, and I want you to insert a balloon sprite. So off you go. So in order to delete your cat sprite, what you need to do is you go down to the sprite over here, and then you're going to tap on the delete button, which is like the little trash can, and you're going to delete it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to tap on the little button here that will allow you to add a new sprite, and then you're going to search by tapping on the magnifying glass, and now we can choose our balloon sprite. Now you can see it's on the screen straight away, so let's tap on the balloon sprite, and there we go, and there's my balloon sprite. Now what I can do is I'm just going to move it to this side here. Okay, there's my balloon sprite. What we need to do next is make something happen. So if you remember, when you've coded in Scratch before, we have to start with an event. So what I'd like you to do now is add the piece of code that allows you to start an event. Off you go. So to do this, you're going to press events, and then you're going to choose when the flag is clicked. So let's move that over here. When the flag is clicked, we want something to happen. So the first thing that's going to happen is that we need to make sure that the balloon is showing on our screen when we start the game. So I want you to find the coding command that shows the balloon when you press that green flag for the first time. So you're going to find this in the looks area. So you tap on looks and then scroll down, and then we can bring this over to show. Now we need to go back to our video sensing tools, and we need to make something happen. So what you're going to do is you're going to drag this one here, which is when the video motion is greater than 10, we want something to happen. All right. Now let's make this simple to start with. What we want to do is we want to make the balloon pop, and we want to hear that sound. So let's go to sounds, and we can see there that there is already a sound called pop. So when we play that, there we go, there's our sound. So let's go back to our code. We want now for that sound to happen when there's motion above 10, greater than 10. Now go and find a piece of code that will pop the balloon once there is motion on the screen. So we're going to go into the sound options, and we're going to play the pop sound until it's done. Okay, so we can do that. We can drag that in here, and as you can see, when I move, we are now getting a pop. But we want the balloon to disappear. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to get the balloon to disappear when it pops? Okay, see if you can find a command that will allow you to make the balloon disappear when it pops. Now I'll give you a clue. You've already used the opposite of this at the very beginning. So to find this, we're going to go into looks. And if you remember at the beginning, when the flag is pressed, we're going to show the balloon. So let's scroll down and now find something that's going to hide the balloon. So let's hide the balloon now, and then we press the flag and it's disappeared. So now what we need to think about is what's going to happen next. Now, that wouldn't be a very good game if the balloon just disappeared and we had a pop. Now, if you notice, when I move, I still get that pop. We need to bring the balloon back, okay? Let's not put it in the same place. Let's put it somewhere random. So, first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to our control and we're going to wait a second, okay? So we just wait 1 second before it reappears. Then we're going to randomly put our sprite somewhere. Okay, we need to randomly put it somewhere. So I want you to find the code that will randomly place the balloon somewhere else. Don't forget, you need to show it as well. I'll give you a clue. It's in the motion. So the one you want is go to random position, and then you need to show it. So let's go down to show and show it. Okay, so let's play the game. Okay, So we've got the makings of our game and it's started. Now, you can see there's an annoying pop happening every time. So what we can do is to stop that from happening, we can just drag that off. Now, nothing's going to happen when I move now. But if I want to play it again, I can just add that and there we go. It's going to start playing. So let's just drag that down so it doesn't annoy us. Now, what I want you to think about is what is going to happen next. Next, what we're going to do is we need to create a variable, okay? Actually, we need to create two variables because our game would be much more interesting if we was to have a score and maybe have a timer and count down. So in order to do that, we need to go to variables. So we can tap on variables here. And there we've got our option to create variables. Now what I want you to do now, I want you to tell me what you think a variable is. Off you go. A variable is something that changes all the time. Okay, so with a score, it's going to change. 1, 2, 3. With a timer, it's going to change. It's going to come down. We're going to count down. So it's something that changes. So we're going to make a variable. So we're going to tap on make variable. And this one is going to be called simply score. Now we're going to apply this to all the sprites. There's only one at the moment, but we're going to apply it to all the sprites and click OK. So there you can see my score has come up on my screen there. Let's create a second variable. This is going to be timer. And again, for all sprites, click OK. And now you can see the timer is here. Now I'm going to move that timer. Let's just make that a bit bigger. I'm going to move that timer to this side of the screen, so it's there. And I'm going to make it a large readout like so. We don't need it to say timer. There we go, like so. Right, let's bring that back. Let's code something to make something happen. So what do you need to do first? So look at your variable screen there and tell me what you think needs to happen next. Off you go. So what we're going to do, let me just move that to the side. We're going to go to the events button and we're going to bring in another flag. Now we could use the one that's already there, but let's just use another one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back down to the variables and we need to set our variables to a chosen value. So let's set our variable. Now we need to tap this drop down menu and choose the variable that we're going to do. So let's do score. Now when the game starts, we want our variable to start at 0. Let's now bring in our second one and let's drop down and let's go to our timer. And this time we want our variable for our timer. We don't want it to start from 0. We want it to start from a higher number so it can count down. So let's say to begin with, let's say 30. Okay, there we go. Let's look at what's happening. So when there's motion, it's going to play a sound and it's the pop sound. It's going to hide it. It's going to wait a second before it brings it back up and shows it in a random position. So after the pop sound, we want our score to go up by 1. So we can do that by dragging in change variable. So we're going to bring in change the variable and we can choose how we want to change the variable. So we want to choose the drop down button here and go to score and we can change it by 1, 2, 5, whatever we want to, but I'm going to keep it as 1. And then what we can do is attach that back like so. Now let's play it again and see what happens. Let's go full screen. You can see there, my score is going up. But you also notice that the timer is staying where it is. So let's stop that. Let's take that down. Let's just move that aside so it doesn't annoy us. So now we have to think about how we're going to do the timer. So to do the timer, we need to think about a new concept, because what we want to do is we want to repeat the process of the timer going down by 1 second. So we want to create something that does that. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try and find the command that's going to allow us to go round and round and round. Off you go. So the command you want is going to be in the control area. Now if you look down here, there's lots of different ones here. We can say forever. So let's put the forever in there. This is known as a loop. This is the forever loop. Then what do we want to happen? Well, the timer is going to go down by 1 second. So let's stay in control, and then we're going to wait 1 second. And then we want to reduce the timer by 1 second. So let's go down to variables, and we're going to change the variable. Now the variable that we want is timer, and we're going to change it by, now what are we going to change this by? What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to find out what number needs to go in this little box here. Now when you've done that, play your game, wait for the 30 seconds to go down, and tell me what happens. What is wrong with the program? Because we then need to do a debug. Off you go. So, if you think about it, we don't want to change the timer by 1, because then the timer will go up. It will go 31, 32, 33. We want to reduce it by -1. So let's change this to -1. And now when we run it, it's going to change the timer. So let's join our code up. Let's go full screen and play the game. Ready? Here, let's press the flag. Here we go. Ah, look, my timer is carrying on down, isn't it? It's going minus. We don't want that to happen, so let's stop that and let's go back to our code. So, how are we going to stop that from happening? Now, I'm going to give you a clue. You go to control. So I want you to look at all the different control commands here and look at the one that you think we're going to use. Remember, we are now doing what we call a loop. So we're looping this round. We got the forever one there, and now we need to choose something else that's going to make this work. Have a go. Off you go. The problem is it's the forever loop, because it's going on forever. We don't want it to go on forever. So let's drag this out and let's get rid of the forever loop. We're going to use repeat until. So we want it to repeat until what? Well, it's until the timer is at 0. So we want it to repeat until the timer variable is at 0. So we now need to use another section called operators. So tap on operators, and we want to say when the timer here, so let's put this in. This is saying when something's equal to. So let's change this. We need to say when that's equal to 0. Well, when the timer is equal to 0. So when the timer, and the timer is a variable. So let's go into our variables, and there is our timer, and we can drag that into the timer block. So what we want to do is repeat this until the timer gets to 0. So we want to repeat what's in here. And then what we also want to do is when it gets to that 0 point, we want to stop the game. So we can do that by going to the control area and then scrolling down, and you've got this stop. So we're going to add that at the bottom of our code. So now when we play it, it's going to go down from 10 and the game is over. But that can't be it, can it? So what else could we do with this? So, what do you think? How about we add some music? So when we play the game, we've got this nice music behind us. So we can do that by going into sounds. Now we've already got one sound here, so we can add some more. So we can add another one. So to do that, we're going to tap the sound button at the bottom, and then we can search. And as you can see, there are lots of different sounds here. Now, we want a sound that's going to go on a little bit longer. Now, there's a certain set of sounds that will allow us to do that, and they are loops. So we can tap on that and we can choose a sound. So what I'd like you to do is go and find a sound that you really want to use in your game, and then I want you to write a bit of code that's going to play that sound throughout the game. Off you go. So the sound I'm going to use is hip hop. So I'm going to tap hip hop. There is my sound. Now I can go back to code. And now what I want to do is I want to play that sound throughout. So the easiest way to do that is go to events. Let's click on another flag. So when the flag is pressed, we want to play that sound all of the time. So we can go down to control. And in our loops, we're going to bring in forever. And within forever, we want to play that sound. So let's tap on sound and we're going to play the sound until it's done. And now when we play our game, so you can hear there the music playing. Now, we've got a game now, so what else could we do with this? Well, how about a game over screen? So we need to create a game over screen. Now to do that, you're going to create a brand new sprite. So let's see how far you can get in creating a game over sprite. I'm going to give you a clue. You need to create a brand new sprite from scratch, and then you need to use the text field to create the game over sprite. Okay, give it a go and see how you do. So let's give this a go. So I'm going to tap on the Sprite button here, and instead of the search, we're going to tap the paintbrush button, and that's going to open up this screen. So now I want to tap the text button, and I'm going to change the font to marker. You can choose any font that you like. Tap the screen, and I'm going to type in game over. Okay, and you can see it's appeared next to my eye on the screen here. Now it's a bit small, so let's make it a little bit bigger. So let's tap on this. Now if you do lose that, you can just tap it like that and then drag it like so, and let's drag it into place. Game over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color by tapping on the fill button, and let's change it to a red like so. Okay, so there's my game over screen. So as you can see on our sprites now, we've got two. We've got our balloon and we've got our game over. But the game over, we don't want that to appear at the beginning. We've got two sprites. This is the code for the balloon, and this is the code for the game over. So how are we going to make the game over sprite disappear? We don't want it to appear when the game starts. So give that a go. Off you go. So the way to do this, we're going to tap on events. We're going to say when the flag is clicked, we're going to go to looks and we're going to hide the game over screen. That now, when we play it, the game over is gone. Now, what next? At the end of the game, we want the game over sprite to appear. So let's do that. Let's go back to the balloon. Now, instead of using stop all here, we can take that off for a minute. We now want to tell the game over sprite to appear. So we have to send it a message. Now we can do that by going to events, and we want to broadcast a message. Now I'm going to change this message. We're going to tap on this message. We can create a new message, and this is going to be called game over. Like so. Now that's our game over message. So let's see what's happening here. Set the score to 0, set the timer to 10, repeat until the timer gets to 0, and wait every second, bring the timer down by 1 second, and then broadcast at the end of the game, broadcast the game over message. So we now need to go back to the game over sprites, and then we can bring in this one. When I receive the game over message, we can wait maybe a couple of seconds, say 3 seconds, and then we can stop everything, like so. Let's play that now. Let's connect this up, and then let's play the whole game and see what happens.
There is a bug in the code. See if you can debug it before the next lesson. And then in the next lesson, we will debug it together. Have you spotted that bug? What do you think the bug is? So, let's have a look. We're going to play this game from the beginning. So, off we go. So, let's go full screen. Here we go. Okay, you can see here, even though the music is off, I can still get the balloons and my score is still going up. So that's a bug that we need to sort out. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Now, it's very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the video off when the game over screen comes on. Pull that across like that. We can go to video sensing, and we're going to put this in here. Turn video off. Now let's change that to off. Okay, now when we play that, it's going to turn the video off. Now the problem is we need to turn the video game on at the beginning, otherwise once we've played it once it will stay off. So let's go back to the balloon, and then under this first flag event we can turn the video on. So let's turn the video on like so. Now when we play it, let's put that back like so, and now when we play it full screen, game over, and the music stops and everything stops there. Okay, so that is how you're going to do that. Now when we play it back again, the video comes back on again, and then we can play the game again. Okay, so let's go back there. Let's just drag that down so we've got the video back on. Okay, so that's how you debug the problem we had from the previous videos. Off you go and debug the problem. So, now we've debugged that issue, what we want to do is we want to make this game even more interesting. Now, we're going to make this, our remit for this game is to make sure that people learn about something when they're playing the game. So, we need to put some facts on the screen. So what I'd like you to do
is create a brand new sprite and take your first fact and use the text box to add your fact as a new sprite. Off you go. So let's do that then. So I'm going to tap on new sprites, and then we're going to create a new one by tapping the paintbrush, and we're going to go to text. Let's tap on the screen, and I'm going to type my fact here. So okay, so there's my fact, and you can see it on the screen there. Let's just move it. It doesn't fit on the screen, so I'm going to just drag that. Okay, there we go. Right, so let's just change the colour of that. I'm going to change the colour to a black. There is my fact. That's what I want on the screen. So now we need to make sure that that fact appears at the right time. So here is my code for my fact. I haven't added anything to this yet, but I do need to add something. I need to make sure that my fact doesn't appear on the screen when my game starts. So add the code to this screen that makes my fact disappear when I start the game. Off you go. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to events, and we're going to put the flag in, and then we're going to simply hide it. Now you've done that several times now, so when the game starts, the fact is going to disappear. So let's go back to the balloon. So what we want is the fact to appear at a time during the game, so the player can read it. So we need to go to control, and then we need to ask the question, if the timer is at a certain time, then the fact needs to appear. What word do we use to describe this? So let's put the if in. We're going to put it under here like so. So if something happens, if, now what needs to happen? Well, we need to put an operator in to say that the timer is going to be at a certain time. So let's say equals. If something is equal to. Now let's choose the time. Let's say it's going to appear, this first fact is going to appear at 27 seconds. Now we need to put the variable in the other block here. So let's go to variables and then drag the timer into this spot here. So if the timer equals 27, well, we need to send a message to our sprite, our fact sprite, to say, well, appear. So let's put that in then. So let's go to events, and we need to broadcast a new message. Now the message that we are going to broadcast, we're going to create a brand new message called new message, and this is going to be fact 1. Okay, so broadcast fact 1. What we need to do now is go back to our fact sprite. This is our fact sprite, and we need to say, well, when I receive that message, when I receive fact 1, we want to do something. Well, what do we want to do? Well, we want to go to looks, and we want to show ourselves. So let's show ourselves. And how long do we want to show this fact? Well, it takes probably about 4 or 5 seconds for a player to read the fact. So let's go to control, and we're going to wait, let's say 4 seconds. And then after we've waited, we're going to go back to looks and hide. Okay, so now at 27 seconds, the fact will appear. So let's try it. So let's go back to my balloon. Let's just join that up, and then let's play it full screen. Off we go. There it is. there is my fact. It will disappear after 4 seconds. Okay, let's stop the game now. Okay, all right, and let's just move that aside. So there you go. That is the first fact in our game. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can ask a question at the end of the game to test the knowledge of the player, and they can get more points as a result of a correct answer. Good luck! So what we need to do now is see if they've remembered the fact by asking a question at the end of the game. So that's what we're going to do now. So we need to do this from the end of the game. So basically, when the game over screen comes up, we want to then ask the questions to see what the player remembers. So we need to go to the game over screen. So this is the game over screen, and you can see this is the code that we've got here. So now this is where we want to ask the question. Let's talk through what's happening on this screen. So when we receive the game over message, we're going to show the game over sprite. We're going to turn the video off. We're going to wait for 3 seconds and then stop everything. Now, what we want to do is ask the question before we see the game over sprite. Now, how are we going to ask the question? We're now going to use one of the other sets of commands. We're going to go into sensing. Now you'll see that there's an ask command. So let's bring that ask command. Now, where are we going to put this? We want the video to go off first. So let's move things around a bit. Let's move that one there, and let's move the video off first. Now we're going to ask the question. Let's leave the show off the code at the moment. So now we need to ask the question. So what question are we going to ask? The question would be related to the fact that we put in the sprite. In this case, it was about algorithms. So the question's going to be, there is my question. Now what we need to do, we need to compare this with the correct answer. So we need a condition in this. Now we've used a condition already. We've said if something happens, then do that. But we also now need to add, well, if that doesn't happen, then do something else. So we need a condition that's if, then, else. So I'd like you to go and find the condition that goes in next. Off you go. So you're going to find this in control. So let's look at control, and then you're going to see here, there's one that says if, then, else. So if the player puts the correct answer in, then say correct. If the player puts the wrong answer in, then say wrong. Let's think about what condition we're going to put in there. So we need to go to our operators, and we're going to put in a equals. Now the answer to this question is algorithm. So we know that that's the answer. Now we need to think, well, what goes in the other box there? Well, that's going to be a variable, but we can find that variable where we put our ask command. So let's go back into sensing, and then you can see here, this is the user variable. So let's drag the answer into here. So if the answer equals algorithm, then we want to do something. So what do we want to do? Think about this carefully. What kind of things do we want to put in between the if and the else statements there in the if condition? Off you go. The first thing we really need to do is change the score. So we want to go to variables, And if it's correct, we want to change the variable and we want to change the score by however many points you want to change the score. So I'm going to give them 5 points for getting the correct answer right. If they get it wrong, we can put this one in here and we can change it by -5. So if they get a wrong answer, they lose 5 points. If they get a correct answer, they get 5 points. Now, it would also be a good idea to have some kind of sound that will indicate whether they've got it right or wrong. So let's have a look at sounds first. So let's tap on sound, and you can see at the top here, play sound pop. Now we don't want the pop sound, we want something like a cheer if they've got it right, and maybe a oops or a boo when they get it wrong. So what I'd like you to do is go and add a sound appropriate for correct and for wrong. So what you need to do is you need to go into sounds, and we're going to add a new sound by tapping on the button in the corner and then tap search, and then we're going to search for cheer. There we go. I'm going to add that one. So there's my cheer. Now I'm going to add another one, and this is going to be oops. Now I need to scroll down a bit for this one, and there it is, oops. So there's my two sounds that I want. So let's go back to my code. Now we can go to our sounds and we can drag in our first one. And this one is going to be cheer. And then we can drag in our second one. And this one is going to be oops. So now when our game is played, at the end of the game, the video is going to be turned off. The question is going to be asked. If the player's answer equals, in this case, algorithm, then change the score by +5 and do a cheer. Otherwise, else, if it's wrong, take away 5 points and play the oops sound. The last thing we want to do is add show the game over sprite, wait 3 seconds and stop everything. Okay? Why don't you now give this a go? Okay, so let's play the game and see if it works. Okay, there's my question. Tick. There's my cheer. Oh, I got that wrong. Game over. We have one more thing to do on this game, and that's to add the remaining questions. So in the next video, we're going to look at how we can add the remaining facts and questions to your game. So I'm going to add one more fact and one more question, but you can then add as many as you have. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tap on our fact, which is this one. I'm going to keep my finger on it and I'm going to duplicate it. So there we have our duplicated fact. So now this is the one that I want. Now what I'm going to do now is go to my costumes and change the fact to my new fact. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to get rid of the text and I'm going to type in here. There's my fact. I'm going to go back to my code. If I tap show there, you can see the fact there. Now I just need to bring that over just a little bit. Like so. Go back to the code, press show. There we go. When there is a problem with your code, you need to debug it. Okay, so there's my fact. There's something wrong with the duplicated code. What is it and how are you going to fix it? Now because we duplicated everything, all the code is there. But however, it says when I receive fact 1. Now we don't want to do that. This is fact 2. So we go back to the balloon. We're now going to put another if condition in this code. Now to do this, what we can do is this piece of code here, we can duplicate. So if we keep our finger on it, duplicate, and then add it to the bottom. All right, so, and then just change the timing code. So 27 seconds, well, our next fact can come in at maybe 19 seconds. And then we're going to broadcast a new message. This is going to be fact 2. Okay. Now let's go back to fact 2 and change when I receive fact 2, that's when we want the code to appear. So when we play the game, both facts will now appear, one at 27 seconds and one at 19. So let's go back to the balloon, let's join this up and let's see if that happens. There's the first one. There's the second one. Okay, so we've got both of our facts coming up.
What else do we need to do? We have the facts, but our player's going to read the facts and we need to check that they understand what the facts are. So what do we need to do next?
Now what we need is to add the question. So let's go back to our game over screen. Now we've got all of this information here. Let's just drag this off. And all we need to do now is duplicate this piece of code. So let's keep our finger on it, duplicate, and add this to the bottom. However, we got two answers here. So what we need to do is we need to ask another question. So let's go into sensing and drag in our other question. So this is the question one. We need to drag that into here. And let's ask this question. And the answer is going to be debug. We can drag this to the bottom like that. And that's all there is to it. And you repeat the same process for your next fact and your next question. So let's now go and play the game. So let's go back to the balloon, attach this, and let's play the game. Okay. There's my first one. There's my second one, and game over. So, off you go and give this a go. So all that remains is for you to continue adding your facts and your questions to the game. How many facts and questions can you have in your game? What else could you do to improve your game even further? Good luck!